And we are live, everybody. Welcome to all of you out there on Austin Music TV, as well as those watching online and tuning in to another 20 Question Tuesdays with me. I'm Jeff Plankenhorn, up here waiting out the pandemic on Vancouver Island, our other home of my wife, Donine, and I, and our fantastic Canadian family and our little dogs, and wishing everybody some health, and wishing everybody that they're staying safe, and wishing everybody is, taking care of business in a good way. Uh-oh. My guest was there, and now he's gone. He's going to have to call back. I'm going to call him back right now. Right now, what we do is I want to tell you just a little bit about 20 Question Tuesdays. What happened was I was trying to look for something to do during the pandemic besides my regular live stream, which is later tonight, and at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. And I started doing a workshop. And hi, Kate, how you doing? Obviously, we have the chat from the various places coming in, so we can talk to people in real time. I wanted to start a workshop, and I wanted to take questions for people, and what was really cool was everybody was locked down, and a lot of people still are locked down, and I would get questions regarding music, regarding guitar playing, regarding the business, and regarding just starting out, and it was really, really cool. I started having fun, and then Austin Music TV asked me to bring this to them on Channel 16 everywhere except for ATTUverse, where it is Channel 99. And one day I decided I would have a guest. I had Michael O'Connor on, and since then I've had a guest every week, and we've had some really, really cool discussions. I've had, if you want to go back and look in the archives, I've got, let's see, Michael O'Connor, Jamie Harris, Scrappy Judd Newcomb, Bill Kirchen, who's got a new album, Sela, who's got a new album as well, and this week my guest is drummer extraordinaire, and someone I'm happy to call a good friend, and host of his new web series, and someone who has a unique perspective on what maybe a drummer might be doing during the pandemic, and to not just try and make ends meet, but to stay creative and to keep going through this wild time that we are all in. So I hope to take some more questions. I've already got some really great questions. Without further ado, I'm going to welcome you right now, Brian Christopher Mendes, everybody. Hey, Brian, how you doing, man? The crowd goes wild.
Dude, hold on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. The crowd.
They're going crazy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hey, man, right now, since we just got in, I love, first of all, your kit looks beautiful, and you look beautiful, but get right on in there for me, because you look so, like, I mean, I don't usually look good enough for this show. I can guarantee that, there we go, that's happening. I can guarantee you, and please let us know, everybody online, because you're in with us interactive, if the sound is okay. I've had some weeks where one person was a lot louder than the other, and since I'm chatting with you real time, feel free. I like to say that of all the things you'll do today, this is probably the least professional, Brian. But we'll have fun anyway, right?
Yeah.
Randy Dees asked a question, and he said, I'm not familiar with Brian. Will you give a brief intro of who he is and who he's worked with? And I said, I kind of replied, and I said that you and I met when you had kind of returned to Austin, and you had been living out L.A. way and doing a bunch of stuff there, and you had a successful cable company. You were also making cables, so you've always been familiar with the side hustle that so many of us musicians have to do to keep moving. But when you came back, I being a transplant, I hadn't known you, and I met you through playing with Malcolm Milligan.
Right.
And which is predominantly, I guess you would say, soul rock, funk rock, some sort of and stuff there.
Yeah.
Someone says Brian is much louder. All right, well then, you know what? I'll just turn up a little bit. Some other people, oh yeah, turn my volume up and Brian's down. Okay, well, I'll just get a little closer to the microphone. How's that sound, everybody? I know. And they're actually telling a guitar player to turn up, which is a really bad move. It's an incredibly bad move. Hopefully that's a little better for everybody. Feel free. You can judge me all throughout the entire thing, and I will take it. That's what I'm here for. But the other thing that I said is that in true Austin drummer fashion, that you've played with, country rock bands, like, you've played with Cory Morrow, and you've played with, all sorts of different styles, Oh, there he goes. We lost him. Hopefully he'll come right back. Now it sounds good. As soon as it sounds good, he goes away. Hey, listen, everybody. This show is produced by yours truly, and so I'm going to do the best I can. Yeah, I know. Brian just went away. He's going to call right back, though. I'm sure of it. Don't worry. I'm sure you all have... There he is. He's back.
I might have to grab my... Now you're frozen. Hello, Jeff?
Working in offline mode. Are you back?
I'm here.
It's all working.
Okay, I can hear you now.
So tell us a couple other artists, notables, or friends, or things that you've enjoyed working on in the past real quick as we get going.
Yeah, Bruce Robeson.
Yeah.
That was back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000. I played with him. Of course, I started with Malford back in the late 90s. Lisa Tingle, Bruton. I used to play with Bruton a lot back in the day. And that's before you got here. I moved to LA, then came back, and we hooked up. And man, Betty Sue. I love playing with Betty.
We did some time with Alex Ruiz with the Night Mothers too, which was really fun. Alex from Del Castillo, kind of doing a solo project, which was really fun. I mean, if you just told somebody who didn't know you that you played for any extended period of time with Bruce Robeson and with Malford Milligan, I wouldn't say they're polar opposites. They both, soulful cats, great writing, great music, great singers, but very, very different styles. And I mean, and that's the thing about not just Austin drummers, but Austin side people in general. There seems to be a benefit. Nobody's afraid to play outside of whatever they just first started on.
Man, I grew up listening to everything. So, I mean, it's in my blood to love different styles of music. I never understood the whole concept of I listen strictly to this.
Right.
And I only play this.
Right.
And all my favorite bands and all my favorite players were educated listening to everything. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So
yeah,
it's natural for me.
Now, did you find that in LA? I don't mean to bash other cities, but I found that my time in Nashville, and I know Nashville's changed a lot. First of all, Nashville's got a really cool soul scene that used to be in Hotlanta, and a lot of it's moved over to Nashville because of the industry there. But so I don't mean to dog on certain cities, but one of the things that drew me to Austin was loving that I could play all styles of music and I wasn't pigeonholed. When I was in Nashville, I was pretty much a bluegrass cat, and that was it. It didn't really seem like people stepped out of it if they were going to do it.
Man, in LA, I will say you can be pigeonholed into certain things, but I can't dive too deep into that because I wasn't as successful there as I am here. You know what I mean? So I kind of stood on the outskirts trying to put my foot into the pond, and every once in a while I get to dip my toe in.
I can say the same thing in Nashville for me.
Which is why I started Colossal Cake,
right
in LA.
Well, you know what? And so that was a cable company that you started, which was high-end, really, really good instrument cables, really, really good power cables for amps, et cetera, speaker cables, all those kind of things. And you eventually sold that company.
Yep.
And they're still going on today. And And, so many of us were into that. But that kind of brings me also, and I was going to say, yeah, I could say the same thing about Nashville. I may have been on the periphery of all this stuff. Like I was right there when they were doing Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And it was cool to learn about bluegrass and dobro, but I never really made it into the scene of the super working hard musicians. And so Austin was so welcoming for somebody who just kind of wanted to play everything and was down with creating as well. But we don't have the same machine. What's
Austin,
that?
I love Austin, but Austin is easier.
In what way?
It was a smaller community.
And to make a living?
Yeah. Before I moved to LA, I was playing 5 nights a week. Easily?
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Always had money in my pocket. And I moved to LA. And of course it's a bigger city.
Huge.
And the money is greater, so many great players are out there, right? And
hey, Brian, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
Somebody says that you have I've got a couple of people, both Lonnie, hey Lonnie and Randy, they're both saying you got echo on your voice. Should we try the earbuds thing right quick?
Sure.
Okay, everybody, while you wait, that's one of those wonderful technical things. While you're waiting, and he's going to get that, I'm going to say this.
Hi, Lonnie.
That's right. We split the tips on these things, and that's what makes us able to go ahead and do this. So we really, really appreciate it. We are underemployed musicians right now, if not unemployed. So thanks for that. We appreciate all of you who sent in questions, and we appreciate this while he's grabbing some headphones. And, it's not a super, super high-tech thing. It's not Wayne's World, but it is cable access. So, I'm appreciative. And what we're going to do is he's going to grab some headphones so that we get less echo, and I've got my earbuds here in case the same thing is happening. He's going to plug it in. Man, that shirt is brilliant. That shirt is worth the price of admission right there, I would say. He's plugging in, people. He's plugging in so we don't have the echo anymore. That's the kind of attention to detail that you will get if you tune in to 20 Question Tuesdays. You may get a bright shine on my face because I won't buy one of those circle lights. I think they're super weird. I can't do it. I got to work on the lighting. Tony, what's up? Nice to see you. Hi, Kates. Both Kates. Kate Fleming and Kate Howard are both here. Yep, there he went again. We have a couple of questions ready for Brian as soon as we get him back on and we get the echo thing worked out. Hipster Kitster. Tony, I've been following you online, man. Hey, and if anybody else has any questions while we are doing this, if you have any questions for a drummer who's trying to survive and make it during the pandemic in a town and a state that's been hit pretty hard, feel free to put a question in there, and he'll be right back with us as soon as he gets headphones. There he is. You back?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully everybody that will take care of the echo. Please let us know if it does not, and I'll put in too. Scott Ward says hello, everybody, from the fabled Strange Brew Lounge side. Welcome, Scott. I hope you don't have any questions. Well, hey, let's move right into it. I'm just kidding. Of course he knows I'm kidding. I'm going to move into some of the great questions that I've already got, just so we make sure we get this going. Hey, I also wanted to mention, too, besides this, I also want to mention that Brian has a web series that you can go check out on YouTube. That's a really, really cool thing to here's the place where you get it right there. And you talk a lot about miking for drums, and you talk a lot about playing certain things. What else do you talk about in your web series?
Reviews.
Right?
What else am I talking about?
I've seen some really cool things on the miking. That's been cool.
Yeah, mics, reviews, tips, advice, humor. I'm trying to cover things specific to drums but also specific just to having a good time, and also what pertains to being a professional musician.
Right. Our friend Lady D, Danielle, who is always on it, went ahead and put that link into the comments. Thank you, Danielle, for that. That kind of help is really appreciated. There's definitely a humor thing. You have one of the most viewed videos of a musician that I've ever seen, and it has to do, I believe it has to do with playing in 13/8, which is a time signature. So I highly recommend I hope that people see that as well. But this is this kind of goes to what you're talking about with the humor and kind of adding it in. Kate's first question, I don't know if it's really a question or a statement, but Kate Howard said, and I don't know if I should even say this because it's just going to make your head blow up. How do you stay so grounded when you are so very cool? Well, I'm not even going to let you answer that one because that's not a real, that's more... No, you don't get to answer that one, but it's nice. It's nice, but it's really nice. But what she does say after that, what her question is after that is, what are the advantages to humor in a stressful career like music? And I'm somebody who loves music and is really, really happy to have the career that I have. But I've never really asked you your take on having humor, whether it be when you're working on videos or when you're working on stuff or when you're on the road or that kind of thing. I mean, do you have like a aesthetic? Just the way you are.
I grew up in a household that listened to comedy records. Richard Pryor.
Red Fox.
Great
records.
Richard Pryor being number one.
Steve Martin.
No.
You didn't mention the Steve records?
No. Like, my friends would.
Yeah.
But not in my house.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? You know, my parents they're now 80.
Right.
So, they were young then, but black folks weren't really into Steve Martin. You know?
I get it, man. You know, I feel you, bro. Danielle says comedy records like Weird Al. No, but we were all into Red Fox, weren't we? That kind of went across. He was Richard a lot
Pryor
dirtier.
Was
well, Richard Pryor. I mean, everybody. The people like Carlin would say Richard Pryor paved the way for me to know that I could do what I could do. He was such Carlin. Right? Me too. Yeah. I still go back to Carlin and go back to Richard Pryor and go, relevant. Today,
still relevant.
Still incredibly relevant. And
to answer your question though. Comedy for me, just day-to-day living, being a musician, and just being a human being, helps me relieve the day-to-day buildup of stress. If that makes any sense.
Of course it does.
It's like flossing your teeth, get rid of the plaque. You gotta keep it off. Mm-hmm. You know, there will be some stuff that builds up, but I find because of my attitude, and especially during this pandemic, I've been able to stay more focused and zen. Mm-hmm. There are days I do freak out. You know, that's a given.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's kind of justified that all of us kind of have those moments within this pandemic and this kind of place that we're at, and that humor would be is something that just kind of, uh-oh, he's gone again. I hope you're there. Can anyone tell me if Brian is gone or if I am gone? We lost him again. Waiting. One moment. Here he comes. He's back. It's going to happen. It's going to be okay. We're just going to keep on rolling with it. Okay. Oh, Dale, I'm going to write down that question for later because that's a good one. Dale, I like that question. Well, yeah, and also Kate mentioned, she said, by the way, that first question was a legitimate first question. But I'm not sure I agree with her. Tips for maintaining. Let me write this down real quick because this is a good one. I do analog for writing down the questions. And this is a good one. This is a good one for either one of us, but maintaining relationships on road. So, Doctari asks this question, and this might go to a little one. Ted says that the next time you go, we're going to tell drummer jokes. I don't know. He probably knows a lot funnier drummer jokes than any of us do. So, I really like this question from Lee Cataret. Doctari's got this question. How do you deal with singers who sing behind the beat? Or out of time? Like, what do you do? Do you go to them, or do you make them, or do you have certain different things, you know?
So as the drummer, I'm a sideman. So I'll do whatever the frontman needs me to do. But there's certain things that I will not do, which is sway with time. I literally take control of the reins and I just go for it. Nobody's going to sway me. If we start the song off at this tempo,
you want to keep it there.
I'm going to keep it there. Nobody's going to sway me. That's one of the things that I feel is one of my strong attributes.
Mm-hmm.
Like my time,
you're solid.
No one's time is perfect.
Oh, of course not.
But my time is really solid.
Yeah.
You know, if we start off here, chances are we're going to end, you know. But it could be a bass player, it could be a guitarist, it could be the vocalist.
Oh, it could be a guitarist.
Yes.
It could really be a guitarist.
But yeah. Well, there's one band I played for. It's one of the few that it got to me time-wise.
Yeah.
And I figured it out afterwards. Part of it was I would down a Red Bull right before we go on stage. Big mistake.
Yeah.
Well, you know, man, like you sleep on the bus. You got less time on the bus, and then you end up sleeping because you're bored.
Yep.
And then I get up before showtime, try to warm up my hands. I'm like, I'm still asleep. Bam. Drink a Red Bull. Get up on stage, and it's like, 1, 2, 3. It's like,
it didn't have anything to do with the singer.
But
it was the bus.
Right. But no, generally, I'm not letting anybody dictate how the time sways in the music. I'll let you dictate to me where you want the time in the beginning of the song. You can turn around and go, hey, man, I need it to be. And then I start.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely certain types of music push and pull, and that's cool, you know? I mean, like, if you play in a bluegrass band, they play in front of the beat. I mean, they're in front. And they never, ever, the worst thing you can do is drag in a bluegrass band. And so when drums are brought into the mix, when it's usually just a mandolin going, drums get brought into the mix, and a lot of times it takes a while, and usually you'll say, oh, we lost him again. That's rough. First time this has happened, everybody. I'm sure we'll get him right back. But as I continue with the question, I feel so bad. We're on live TV. What can you do? Maybe it is a little bit more like Wayne's World. He'll be back. He'll be back, everybody. Tell your drummer joke, Ted. I'm ready. I'm ready. You show me that drummer joke. I'm ready for it. Danielle Williams says, I remember one night you sat in with the Resentments, and they started Hit Somebody by Warren Zevon. They forgot to mention you about the beat, and you started Double Time. You were so confident, then so patient. Oh, that's really nice. I'll tell him when he gets back to make sure he hits that That thing, what a great comment. Danielle, have you always been patient? Gain experience on the crowd. What are your thoughts on the Southern Rock two-drummer setup? Oh, that's a good question, Janice. When he gets back in here, Southern Rock two drummers. He is going to be back. I'll tell you what, we'll take the tips today and we'll buy him an Ethernet cable. Okay? So I'll just put that up again. Because his web series is not going to go far. I just told everybody, you know what I said?
No.
I said, what we're going to do today is we're going to take the tips and we're going to buy you a new Ethernet cable. And that way your web series... No, it's probably you. It's probably not you. Who knows what it is.
I don't know. I'm going to try for my iPad the next time this goes down.
All right. These things happen. We have some good jokes, though. Lonnie Trevino Jr. says, this is what it's actually like being in a band with Brian. Here's a really great comment, though, that I just want to share with you that you might not... I go back and I look through these comments later because there's always good stuff, and I love everybody talking to each other. Daniel Williams says, I remember one night you sat in with the Resentments, and they started Hit Somebody by Warren Zevon, that song about the hockey player. And they forgot to mention you about the beat, and you started Double Time. You were so confident, then so patient when they were like, whoops, y'all restarted it, and it was so great. Danielle says, have you always been this patient? Or is it something that you've gained through the years on the job?
Definitely gained.
Really?
You know, well,
regarding that kind of thing.
Well, that's a double-edged. You know, because when you sit in, you obviously I didn't know the tune.
Right.
In situations like that, you just have to be forgiving. You know, it's one thing if it was well rehearsed and then something happens and it's just like, really, bro? But in a situation like that, it's really good to be loose. For several reasons. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, it does no good to be uptight.
I agree.
And the one reason, or not the one reason, but the main reason why we all started this is because we love music.
Right.
So when I get up on stage, it's about the love first, and then get my bill paid second.
Sure, but it's there. They're both there. They're both there for real. But I'll tell you another thing, though. With regards to that Resentment show where you sat in, if you had a front person and they threw a song at you, I don't know about you, but I've been on stage as a side person where somebody threw me a tune that I've never heard before and then gotten mad because I didn't play it right and giving me the stink eye. And then they give me the stink eye like I'm supposed to magically know that this song that they pulled out from 1957 that was written by, you know, Joe Hillbilly, I don't know this person, you know, or whoever it was. Record. I know. Joe Hillbilly he is one of my favorites, actually. So anyway, but it's true. And we were like, Brian, we're sorry we didn't say, you know. And like, it was a particular feel. It's like saying to somebody, you know, recite a poem that you've never heard before, you know, or something like that.
Well,
you know,
the thing about music is, especially if no one tells you anything, is when you guys start playing a song, there's literally probably 3 to 4 different ways you can interpret how the group can be played.
Absolutely.
So something with the way you guys are playing it made me feel, oh, this should be cut time. You know what I mean? It was either the rhythm of the guitars.
Yeah, because Miles starts out with a chang, and I can totally hear, you know, instead, you know, and it's like if he's really subdividing the beat, and I don't mean to get too technical on this show, but sometimes I like getting technical on the show, but your lead person better be cool and better know. Like when I first started playing with Ray Wiley, one of the things I loved about Ray was he had a bunch of signals. Like if he went like this, That meant tag, because there's like a tag on your shirt. You know what I mean? And he also had a thing where he would kick off. And so his boot would go just a little bit forward and be like, oh, it's a kickoff. He had all these little things that would be like, you know, and then back at the top, boom. And it seems like the cats that have that, you know, and I've also heard stories of like Michael O'Connor was talking about when he was with Augie Myers. Augie would like be playing the accordion with one hand and shooting the numbers of the chords behind his back to the band. Like this. And I always love that, man. And I mean, I've done it to this day. If we're learning a new tune on stage and we're trying, then we just kind of like, hey, man, just give me a hint.
Dude, frontman.
Help me out.
A frontman that can signal can cut out so much headache. Lonnie has a joke about how
our guest for next week.
Yeah. He made me cry laughing when he did this.
I can't wait to hear it.
Because we've all gone through it when we're playing and then somebody turns around and they're trying to signal as they're playing, but they don't know how to signal while playing. So they start making... He's sitting there playing and he's going...
You're like, what does this mean?
And he's trying to tell you, but he can't play and signal at the same time, so it's like this...
I'm sorry. I would be crying on stage if that happened. I would lose it, and my professionalism would go out the window. I'd be like, but you know, it's a learned thing, and I never would have kind of come into that. You know who else was really good at this? Who I have to give some props to is that I don't always. No, I'm just kidding. Is Bob Schneider, and we had signals for songs he wanted to start because the guy would never make set lists. But what he would do is he would have hand signals for certain songs, and he'd turn around and look at the band, and he would go, and that meant tarantula. And then he would go like this. He'd go like this, and he'd go, that means we're going to start Captain Kirk. And then, like, for some reason, one song, this was Bombonanza. And then there were like all these songs that he had one hand. He would just be like, before the show, he'd be like tarantula, you know, Captain Kirk. He'd look at the band. I mean, he might as well be going like this or some, you know, whatever. This one is, you know, can't change your mind. Whatever. Hey, I want to let you know also, Kevin Daniel Smith is here laughing it up, and so is Michael O'Connor. We got so many good people here hanging out right now. Thank you all for being here. So what we're doing is we're talking to Brian Mendes. We got 20 Question Tuesdays. Brian is a drummer. He's a host of his own web series. Now, during the pandemic, I personally, you and I both have talked a lot. Hi, Shayna. How you doing? More great musicians coming in, too. But I love that this is open for everybody, and we get questions from all varying types. And thanks again to Austin Music TV for having us. During the pandemic, a lot of us have been, my wife used the term resilient. And I think that the ones who have really, really tried hard to find other ways, such as what we're doing right now, but like, I know that I work on demos for people a lot. Like, people call me and they'll say, you know, it's perfect timing because I'm stuck at home and I'm not out doing gigs. So I'm teaching Zoom lessons and I'm making demos for people. How easy is it for someone who would be like, you know, I'm sick of just going boom, bap on my DAW to get a track from you?
How simple?
Yeah. Like, how easy is it?
It's easy. It's easy. So, literally, if let's say you're a guitarist.
Yeah, let's say I got a demo, and I'm sick of putting boom bap on it.
All you literally have to do is just send me that file, and I upload it into Logic, and then depending on the music, the style of song, I will then decide how I'm going to mic up the kit.
Right.
And then I mic up the kit, and normally it's close mic'd, right? So you have more control that way.
It's another thing you talk about in those videos.
Yeah.
On your series.
So I then export each file So it'd be kick, be 2 mics for the kick, 2 for the snare, maybe 1 tom and 1 floor, right? And 2 overheads. So those tracks, I export them as audio waves, and then it doesn't matter what system you're using. You can be using Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, Apollo? No.
There's
What's
so
the other
many
one?
of them.
Yeah, there is, man. Apollo is the interface.
Right.
But
I know what you mean. Like the digital audio workstations, they all, if you send WAV files, then pretty much, oh no, we lost them again. He's going to come back on iPad. But as we're talking about this, it is relatively easy for you, if you want a drummer who's at home right now, to give him a gig. And something that you might not be able to think you could do is like send a demo to him and put some great drums on it. You're back.
Yeah. So, and I sent them to you unmixed.
Right.
I do nothing because I can't mix and then send you the files not knowing what your record or demo or EP is going to sound like. I don't know where your waves... everything has a proper position to sit in.
I tend to do the same thing. Like if I send a track, I try to send it dry. Sometimes I will send, here's what it sounds like with, a little bit of effect, but I've always got one clean channel, like for a slide part or something, because I want them to be able to go, it's a little reverby for what I'm going, I'm going to just put my own thing on there. And the same thing with the mix of the drums, Although, if you were sending it to a cat like me, I would say, give me a rough mix, because I want to know, I'm not an engineer. I need that help. I'm not, man. And I definitely will bow out and give it to somebody with better ears, whether it be a drummer or it be an engineer. But that's not that expensive either. It's not like going in the studio for a full day. And it's pretty wonderful. I don't know about you, but I've gotten to work on some really great styles of music and play for people who didn't think they had the money, and it was like, no, man, I'm sitting here, like, send me a track. I'd love to play. And it's the same thing with drums, man.
Yeah. Well, before I go any further, I just saw a text from my wife saying, "Are you stoned?" And I think it's because in my ears I hear an echo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
keep talking.
My sentences and my words...
You don't seem stoned to me.
...are stopping and then starting.
Maybe my little earbuds will fix that. Hold on a second. Keep going.
Hello?
Okay, perfect. So, let's get a couple more questions in, because we've got some really, really good ones. All right. Let me turn down this volume, too. Then maybe you won't have the echo. Wow. Memories of the bucket and A squared 25 years ago. Terry, thanks for that joyous down memory lane. Here is another really, really good question that kind of has to do with the DAW thing. Jana Pokop wants to know, do you actually make beats for people ever in a DAW? And... if you do you have any tips on making a new beat from nothing?
Yes, I do make beats, and the echo's gone.
Yeah, I figured. Yes. Sorry about that. I just had to put in the douchey earbuds.
So yes, I do make beats from scratch, and it's pretty easy in Logic. I don't know about any other DAW, but in Logic, it's real easy to program a beat. And they have a grid. And the grid is made up of, I'm going to get real geeky right now, but the grid is made up of, think of 16th notes.
Yeah.
And you can split the 16th note, so then it can become a 32nd note. But it's literally just having your drum kit, your digital drum kit. And in Logic, they have a ton of drum kits, like electronic sounding or real sounding. And you just The cymbals, though, are always the weirdest.
It's really hard with a keyboard to make a cymbal go. You try and there's so many things. They've come a long, long way. And I know Jana's doing some work in Logic herself. That's one of the DAWs that she's using.
Oh, okay, Logic, yeah.
She's been using Logic. And cymbals are hard, but man, I can't believe the drummers that come in Logic now. We used to say I would never let anybody hear that. And I also find that it's really, really good to, if you are going to program, talk to a drummer. For crying out loud, talk to a drummer about it. Because they're going to understand what makes it sound real from that stuff.
Well, Janet, all I can say is if you're using Logic, use the piano roll, which is Command either 4 or 5, and it pulls up the piano roll, and you program your drum beat in there. And after you program it, start messing with the quantization of it.
Right.
So the feel. Another thing you can do is with the hi-hat is make sure that all the hi-hat hits are not the same velocity.
That's so good. That's such a great tip.
It is, because if you just sit there and program your hi-hat the whole way through the track and it just goes...
Doesn't sound real.
Well, it doesn't sound real. You have to have the inflection like a real hand would have, which would be hard, medium, soft, hard, medium, soft, right? Because it's sitting there going up and down. And we purposely play like that, too, to give it more swank, Right. There are times when a hip-hop drummer will play like a very staccato feel.
808.
Right?
Right?
Exactly. So learn how to quantize, mess with your quantize, and you can swing it a little, but also fluctuate with the velocity of your hi-hats.
Right. Velocity, when you change the velocity, it means like a hard hit or a light hit. And it's a relatively easy thing to do. You can go through and select all of your offbeats and go, you know what, I'm just going to pull them down a little bit and see if that makes it swing a little bit more. And then you can go through in certain parts and go, you know what, this crash just needs to be a little bit hotter. And it's meticulous work, but once you start learning those, what do you call them, macros, and you start learning, it becomes something. And again, I got to go to a drummer. It's like, you've heard, I've given you demos before, and you've gone, yeah, man, that's cool, but that beat is whack. I'm just trying to give you the idea, which it works for, but you should not play this for anyone. Other than your band. Take the advice of a drummer. That's what I'm going to say as far as beats are concerned, and learn from them. Yeah.
Here,
let's get some more questions. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I really like this question too. This one comes from Ted. I'm going to make sure we get to as many of these as we can. I hope that helps, Jana. You know what? Did we answer the thing about making a new beat from nothing? Like, let's say Jana's a songwriter. And if she wants to program a new beat from nothing, like a lot of people will say, this time versus that time, and I'm always just kind of like, count off in your head where you think 1, 2, 3, 4 is, and start there and
Well, again, in Logic, if you're going to use Logic, the piano roll, which is Command either 4 or 5, forgive me for one of them will pull up like sheet music, and you can actually write your music in Logic, which is awesome.
Insanely cool.
I've been writing PDFs actually that way for lessons that I've been writing.
Oh, it's so good. What a tool.
It is.
Useful tool.
If you start from scratch, just open up a...
Oh, we lost him again. He's going to come right back, and there won't be any echo this time. Jana, those are great questions. I'm so sorry, everybody, that today is the technical difficulty day. First day we've had a little bit of people going in and out. But I know he's going to come back fast, because he did last time. Wait for it. Once again, we're on Austin Music TV. This is 20 Question Tuesdays, and we're back.
Gremlins. So, in your DAW, it'll be fresh, that piano roll.
Yeah.
And then go through your kits. There's so many kits in Logic, and start hitting on you'll see to the side with the piano. You can tap on each individual instrument, right? The kick drum, the snare. Understand which one you like, and then pick that kit and then understand how that grid works. Once you understand how that grid works, let me put my hands in. Once you understand how that grid works, put this coffee cup down too. Once you understand how that grid works, and there's so many notes you can only place between this bar and this bar, because like I said, it's 16th notes.
Right.
Then you can start programming your drum beat, right? And hit the kick first, which is going to be on the first actual available space, and then start messing with your snare placement and other kick placements, and go from there. And it's pretty simple once you start placing each little square, because that's what they look like. They look little rectangles that you place in there, right? Like click, 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 click. And they look very, but once you start listening back to it, it's like, oh, that sounds great. And then you can add reverb to them. You know, you can start making it sound very realistic, actually.
Yeah, it's surprising now.
Yeah, and also, I also suggest too that you can have your demo or your idea of you strumming and singing, just you, and then you can add a virtual drummer from Logic, and it will follow.
Oh, that's amazing.
It will follow you, and you can start messing with how they feel. You can mess with the hi-hat, how the drummers can play the hi-hat, and they have different drummers in there that would approach the song differently. So
yeah, they got like names. Like this drummer is Trevor. Trevor is going to play this, and like this one is Charlie. You know, and it sounds like the Rolling Stones drummer or something, which is kind of fun because even if you're not going to use it, it's a great starting point.
Yes, it is. So there are several ways you can go about starting from scratch. That first way I described to you, and just adding a drummer to it.
Right, is another great way. Great. Good stuff. Here's a couple of fun ones. First of all, I only have one question every week when I do this now, and that is, and people have answered this very, very differently, and it's a very serious question, Brian. And you can tell by my expression that it's a very, very serious question. And that is this. The world wants to know what your guilty pleasure music is.
Guilty pleasure music. That is going to be...
Everybody knows what mine is, and it's pretty damn embarrassing.
All right. So there's a couple of them, actually.
Okay.
Early Madonna.
Oh! You're talking... Okay, are we talking like early? Like she's still clubbing?
Yeah, I'm talking like, you know, like a Virgin.
Yes. Okay, and Starlight, Starbright, and
her first record.
What was that song called?
Shit, I can't remember, man.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry about it.
I can't remember. I can't remember, but
well, do worry about it. But we never saw that.
And then when I was in high school,
Madonna's a good one, man, because she's got some good solid stuff, man. Live to Tell is a great song. Live to Tell is a great song.
Madonna was jamming, bro. One of the things I had to hide when I was in high school because I hung around a bunch of metalheads, and it was Depeche Mode.
Oh, that's fair.
I had to hide that I like Depeche Mode. I was in love with Violator. Violator is, I don't care what anybody says, that album is a masterpiece from start to finish.
Now, here's one of the problems with doing this online and having a chat at the same time that you are not looking at. Your wife just said that your guilty pleasure is Karen Carpenter.
Man, see, this is how domestic violence starts. I'm joking.
Yeah, please tell everybody you're joking. Megan said Karen Carpenter. Listen, man, I've got a few of them, but mine was like when I was a kid. My mom played all these great records, man. Like I grew up on Songs in the Key of Life, and I grew up on certain stuff. But my mom also had a soft spot for Barry Manilow. And so I would listen to Barry Manilow before I was like 3, 4. So when I hear Can't Smile Without You, I'm like, kind of like this. I kind of like it. You know, like I'm embarrassed, but I kind of like it.
He wrote anthems. Like,
that's true.
When you get to the chorus, I guarantee you, everybody's going to be singing it.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck. But that's a guilty pleasure for me. Okay, so we're starting to wind down, but usually what we do is we stay online a little bit after we get off of Austin Music TV. I want to make sure that we've gotten as many of these questions as we can. There's a couple more that are great that I want to get to. Janice, who you may know from the old Strange Brew Lounge Side days, Janice has a great question. What is your take on the Southern rock two-drummer thing? Are you a hater, or do you like it? Do you like the two-drummer thing? I mean, I don't necessarily. It's not always two drummers. Like, dual drummers can be great. You know, of course, there's hot butter rhythm. Of course, but then there's like, you know, some people don't like the dead side of it. Some people do like the dead side of it, the Allman Brothers side of it. How do you feel about two drummers?
This is the way I think about two drummers. If you're going to have two drummers, they need to be doing something completely different. I've never understood
completely.
When you have. Well, sometimes it
could be subtly different.
They'll drive the bus the same way.
Yeah.
But I never really understood having two drummers play the same beat, the same exact way, and the same fill.
Yeah. It's like two guitar players just strumming a G chord. It's like, all right, man.
You know, like and when you there are certain parts in the song when both guitarists are digging in the same riff, right?
Sure,
and
happens.
And the bass player too. And that section is when it drives the song, right? And it tells a story. So like if you have the story start off where second guitarist or second drummer, let's just say two drummers because it's about drummers. You have one drummer start off with something and another drummer start off with something, and then gradually as the song progresses, they are changing the rhythms up, right? And then maybe this one section after the solo where there's like this, both of them are driving, right?
Yep.
That makes sense to me. But to have them do the same thing the entire song or an entire album,
then it becomes kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's like why? Like it doesn't really do anything to have them do the same thing the entire show, right? So it depends.
You could just add a delay.
Yeah. Hot Buttered Rhythm. I used to go see them all the time, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah, we're talking about Brandon and the great Austin drummer Brandon Temple and J.J. Johnson.
And then if I see 38 Special, it's just like
not feeling the same
thing, bro. You're playing the same thing. So it just depends. It just depends.
Yeah. I've seen it work too, and I've seen it where it was like, okay, I get it, and it took that for me to become a believer as far as it was concerned. I did a show once with oh man, he just passed, great drummer, rest in peace, Jamie Oldacker, one of the better drummers I've ever played with in my life. Jamie just passed, and we did a thing with him and Rick Richards, and they wanted to do two drummers, and they really switched from song to song as to who was going to drive the bus, who was going to be doing the accents, who was there to, you know, section to section. And a lot of it was instinct because they both knew what they were doing, but a lot of it was kind of mapped out too. This was on a thing called the Outlaw Trail that was really fun, where we had everybody from, you know, Raul Malo to everybody just doing outlaw songs for this big thing at the Paramount. It was cool. It was cool, you know, so it can be cool just like anything else. I'll tell you, anything that I ever thought, I was like, yeah, I never like that. It'll never work. It's never cool. Somebody's going to break that rule. Somewhere down the line, I'm going to hear something and go, yeah, but I kind of like that, you know, right?
Well, I've done with the Resentments. I think it was when Chipman had his back surgery.
Yeah.
He came back. I was subbing all the gigs, well, not all of them. Me and John Gray were subbing.
Yeah, I remember.
And there was one night when Chipman came back, but I was already slated to play.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, well, we're going to have both of you. So the entire night, we're just looking at each other, and he goes, how do you want to do this? I said, you know, take lead, bro. And I'm back there accenting, or I would take lead, he's accenting. Yeah. But there has to be that cohesiveness of understanding what to do.
Otherwise, it just ain't cool.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line, and you want it to be cool, and you want it to groove, and you want it to be good. So, some of the last couple of questions, and if I interrupt you in one of these, it's just for me to say goodbye to Austin Music TV before we go offline. It tends to happen when we get to the last 5 minutes or so, and we'll stay online. And any questions that we don't get done, we will answer real quick for you. Thanks for everybody for being here. Ted wanted to ask, do you write songs? And I know the answer to that. And then, do you start with a drum track? And do you think, because basically I had talked about how I had done some writing with friends where I enjoyed starting with a beat to see what I come up with. And I thought it was a really, really cool thing. And I've had a couple of songs in the last few months that I put on my Patreon. There's a ding. Where I was like, I love the beat Cabbage Alley by the Meters. Like, I love it. And so I took a keyboard and I just went, and I just made it as funky as I could make it. And I even took a sample of it, and like kind of threw it in there. And then I just walked around and I just was cleaning the dishes and cleaning up the apartment and just see what's going to come up, But when you're writing, do you start from a beat or, because you write songs too. You write on guitar and you sing.
It literally just comes from the inspiration of whatever it may be. So
anyway,
anyway, there are some things that I've written that have been around the groove, but there's been a lot of just like I'll have like a riff in my head, a bass line.
Right.
And then the bass line will then, I was like, all right, well, what would go under this? Immediately with the drums. So it
dictate it.
Yeah. And it's usually, if I'm writing a song, it has to do with melody for me. Because if I hum a melody to myself, then I can start thinking lyrically about where the song is going to go or how the song is going to progress. So, yeah.
I think that a lot of people underestimate writing songs with a drummer. And it's just like, it just seems counterintuitive to them that this person might not have ideas about the form of the song. And I'm sort of the kind of person who's like, write with anybody. Because if you get something down, then good for you. I don't care if it's the postman. And don't let the post service go away, by the way. But,
right.
You know what I mean?
The key is understanding the person that you're writing with understands musicality, right? Understands he's a listener. Part of my web series as well is being a professional drummer. And
Good.
That's all about,
I want to put that back up. Go on.
And that's all about listening, man. As a professional drummer, as a professional musician, period. Doesn't matter if you're a drummer or not. You have to listen when you're on stage. I mean, how many times have you and I played together and it goes, somebody walks up on stage that I don't know, or I may know them, but I don't know the song, and you quickly say something, or they say something, and they go, "You'll know it. You'll watch it. Just watch for it." How many times have I been told, "Just watch for it"?
I know.
So you have to sit there and you listen,
and
you listen. So understanding that the person is going to be musical is a good indicator that they might be able to write with you as well, because they understand music and they understand the nuances of the songs that you've played with them before, and they understand, yes, you played the right fill, you played the right groove, instead of just coming in there and doing all willy-nilly over somebody's tune. You know what I mean?
For real. Yeah, hey, I got a great idea. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I learned this lick yesterday, and I'm going to play it on the song that has no business being on there.
Yeah, no good, right? No good. I got a great idea. Sometimes we have people play out. Is your drum kit, do you have it to where you can just like, we got about a minute before we go off the air. You want to just like play a beat and then come back to me in a minute? That dumb idea?
Sure.
You got a couple sticks?
I don't know if it will. I don't have any sticks, Jeff.
Just because I got that beautiful drum set right there, man. I just want it doesn't matter. It's not going to sound great.
I don't know if it's going to translate.
It's not, but just do it anyway. Everybody, Brian Mendes, give him a round of applause as we are about to go off on Austin Music TV. We're going to stick around for just a little bit online to answer some questions, but I want to thank Austin Music TV. Yeah. That translates. Thank you, Austin Music TV. Thank you, Brian Mendes. Yeah. All right, we are offline. Thank you, Brian.
Now I'm gonna do a drum
Ow! That was happening. See, it's perfect. It gets us like to go off the air with a bang. Okay, so we're still online, everybody. And now that we are online, and we are only online, and we are no longer on Austin Music TV, I'm going to put in one more little plugs. Okay, and now I can say sort of like the call to action stuff. I really, really want you to go to Brian Christopher Mendes on YouTube, and I want you to check out his web series and like and follow and subscribe. Really, really important to me that you do that so we keep this going. Next week, we're going to have Mr. Lonnie Trevino, who's going to be on, and he's going to talk about the bass player's perspective. Oh, we lost Brian. He's going to come back, I bet, though. And I'm really, really grateful for everybody for keeping us going with this. I think it's a really, really cool thing. Brian and I, here, I'll wait until he comes back. Thanks, Michael O'Connor, for being here. Susan, thanks for that. Doctari, we didn't get your question, but I might ask if he comes back. There he is. Oh, he's back. So I want to thank everybody, and I want to say, we're splitting the tips today, so that's how we keep this thing going. So you see the information right there. Thank you for that. Thanks for everybody talking about Madonna. Thanks to the people I haven't seen in forever, like Scott Ward. Really appreciate you. Lee Doctari says, is there a proper egg technique? Like
egg technique?
I mean,
actually, there is.
Yes.
There is.
Can you talk about it?
Dude, man, so... the funny thing is when you're a drummer, people will automatically assume that you know how to play percussion, right?
Yeah, which is a different bag.
Percussion and playing the drum set, opposite,
Yeah.
So people will go, hey man, just bring a djembe or some congas. And I'm like, yeah, nah, don't work like that, kid.
I've done that. When I was younger, I did that a couple of times. I'd be like, sorry, go on.
It's a natural assumption, you know what I mean? So, but you just grab a shaker. I remember the first time I played shaker, I went out and bought a shaker, and then I went to the gig. And I got up on the gig thinking, it's a shaker, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I started shaking.
And it's all over the place.
It took me about halfway through the song to finally understand how to play this shaker. You know what I mean? And
is there a tip for a beginner? Like, I mean, basically,
it deals with the shaker. So like it deals with the weight. So moving the shaker back and forth and moving.
You're kind of moving up and down too, right?
Yeah. Like you just don't go like this, right? I mean, you can. Mm-hmm. But in order to get like that nice rhythmic swing shake go, and not even a swing, but just you want the shake to, like we were talking about earlier about the velocity.
Yeah, it's like out of 2 and 4
of the hi-hat, of it going soft and loud. You don't want it to be loud the entire time. It needs to go. The is louder, and then. And then understanding the weight, you have to understand the weight of the shaker and then get used to that because when you're throwing all those beads, the weight is pushing this way. It's just like playing with sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to understand the balance of that stick and the weight of it in order to start playing properly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
we have to yes, damn it.
There is a proper technique, and that's getting the shaker. It could be the big, the big round ones, like that long aluminum.
Yeah.
So, like if you have that one in your bag, and then you meant to grab the egg, but it's too late, and you got to go for it. You got to understand something like, oh, this shaker's going to feel completely different, and you have to acclimate immediately, to what you're playing or how you're playing it.
It's surprising to people how different shakers can sound and how different they play.
Yes.
Really surprising how different they play. And I would also recommend, if you are not a drummer or a percussionist, think twice before picking up a shaker. If you've done it before, maybe. And still, that's a big maybe. It's a big maybe. Now, even a shaker, because, I mean, like, the thing is, like, if it's really, really bad, well, you pull away from the mic, and then you can just kind of fake that you're doing it, like, oh, he's doing it over here, like it's not really on the mic. But otherwise, I mean, many a side person and many more front people have picked up a tambourine and just ruined whatever groove was happening.
Yeah, man, yeah. and understand, like I have like probably 4 different shakers,
right?
And like prime example, when I go out with Ruthie Foster, I know she doesn't like certain shakers, and that's the great thing about when you play with an artist who knows exactly what they want and they got great ears. Because I'll pull out a shaker, and when I first started playing with her, and she turned around and she said,
"Oh, she didn't say that." Let's wait until he comes back for one more thing. We'll get one more question out of him. That's pretty funny though. The timing of it, the timing of him saying. Ruthie would turn away and she'd say, bye. No? Anybody still with us? Okay, if you're still on and you're still listening, we're waiting for him to come back on here. Any second, I'll click him. There he is. There he is. That was some funny stuff. The timing was great. Because it was like, she'll turn around and she'll go... Oh, thanks, Michael. Anyway, just to finish up, as far as Ruthie knowing what she wanted was what you were saying with regards to a shaker.
Yes. So, can you see me?
I can.
Okay, cool. Just understand that play with the shaker. There is a movement of the arm that that will help you acclimate the right sounds that you want and timing as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to say one last thing. So how can people get a hold of you, say if they wanted a drum track? Can they message you through Facebook? Can they message you? Can they leave a message on your YouTube comment or something like that? Maybe you can message them. Or is there an easy way?
So there's several ways you can, of course, get in contact with me. I would say if you go to my website, which is Brian Christopher Mendes, it sounds, Mexican, but it's actually Portuguese. It's with an S. So
yes.
If you write Mendes with an S, Brian Christopher Mendes.
I'm going to just put it in the chat right now.
Thank you, sir. You can email me from my website. You can email me
.com.
From my Brian Christopher Mendes, yes, .com. Sorry.
Good. It's there now. Go on.
And you can email me at Brian Christopher. No. Jeez. There's too many Brians.
Just get him there. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't email me from Facebook if you like. I would say go to my actual page. I have 2 pages. I have my personal page and then I have my business page, which is Brian Christopher Mendes. I would get those messages because the thing about if you message somebody and you don't know them, it'll hide in the inbox.
Right? Yeah,
dude. I found messages that were like 2 years old ones. I was like,
I've had that too. I missed some good ones. I missed some good opportunities with that. So please understand that some of us have business pages and some of us have personal pages, and they're not the same thing. And Nick Steele. Anyway. Oh, he's gone again. Hey, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for us. I'm going to wait for him to come back on one last time, and we'll sign off. Thank you, everybody, for being here this week. Thank you so much to Brian Christopher Mendes. Thank you for the tips. And I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to say thank you. Thank you, Brian, so much for being here, man. And I'm going to go ahead and finish it up.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Michael O'Connor, I didn't get a chance to say I love you, man. I miss you.
Nice.
Lonnie, Janice, Scott
Lonnie
Ward.
Next week, yeah.
It was a pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, bye.